It's life as an older white guy.
Is what that show is?
Kinda. You know, it
That
was
was
a
a
lot
bad
of old.
segue.
There's a lot of older white guys in that film.
Being an older white guy at that time is very different than being an older white guy at this time.
That's right. That's better.
In that,
Other than it's not better, I take
I
that
think-
back. It's
yeah.
not fun being an older white guy anymore.
I think that the people that were creeped out by older men before had no platform from which to say, hey, man, don't do that.
Yeah, that's true. No question. I just know from my perspective that I can seriously feel that skepticism in especially younger women.
Yes.
If I'm on, we're trying to do what we can to build our social media presence, which usually is you like someone or you comment on their stuff.
Yes.
And
wait. Before you say what you're going to say, I want to preface it so that you don't come off as, hold on. I just want to say one sentence, which is, I have not thought about, I being a younger female, had not thought about being an older white man as anything but advantageous, because that's like what we're, in college and like looking at the world.
Everything you read, everything you hear, everything you see.
Statistically speaking, it's pretty baller to be an older white male. There's a lot of cultural benefits, and people are really impressed by that. But I had not thought of, because you're at the top of the status with what you guys have gotten, it's really easy to punch up, and punching up is acceptable. Like making fun of the people in power is, what you're supposed to do, what comedians do, whatever. So now we're in that phase where that's what you do. You just make a villain out of any older white male. And I hadn't thought about that as a gross generalization until you started talking about it. And okay, I just wanted to preface what you were going to say so that people weren't like, wow, he's really out of touch.
Oh, no, I think everything you said is correct. I would argue that I think that curve is already changing, and that while right now the sensibilities are to have like a reverse discrimination or a prejudice the other way now, to swing that pendulum back the other way because white men have had so much privilege for so long, that's the focus that they do. But as an older white male, I feel that I don't have that anymore, and I'm not complaining about it per se, but the things that I'm noticing, which I get are probably natural in the way it's supposed to be, is that it's hard for me to engage with someone younger, especially hard for me to engage with somebody younger that's female. And it's because of that. So that's tempering. And now I have.
And you don't. You keep yourself from doing that.
Right.
And not in a creepy way, in a like, just you like
business.
Yeah.
Trying to do what we're doing in regular business, but even let's see, how can I say
we
this next thing without getting in trouble?
We DM a lot of. I'll help you. I promise. I'm on your team. Because we DM a lot of other agents and a lot of potential buyers and all of that. So when I do it, I have no barrier. There's no one that if I DM, they are like, "You're a predator. You're coming after me." Except from a salesy perspective, maybe they're like, "Excuse me, please leave me alone." But they're not like, "Oh, I'm scared of you." Right. Whereas you can come across as a predator. So when I have a list of 100 people, I can DM all of them and be fine. You look at the younger females and you're like, I'm just going to skip those because I don't want to be perceived as that guy.
Right. And I do that. I skip quite a few, and I don't do that. And I think about it that there are other very successful real estate agents that I would just like to be like distantly connected to. Typical social media reason you connect. And I'm like, no, I just don't want to do that. And then on a different tangent, I have an entrepreneurial neighbor who's a younger male and of some color. I don't think about him that way, but he's pointed that out to me, that he's of color, if that's how you want to say it.
I know who you're talking about. Okay, I was like, what the hell?
He uses OWG, old white guy. We have to have an old white guy. And he talks about that. And I've run into other people. They're like, yeah, you have to have a token old white guy. They don't provide any value. They're not technically savvy, but for the bank or someone for us to get in, we got to have an old white guy connected to us, even if
And
they're worthless. And
that's true. I mean, it seems true.
it does seem true, which speaks to the fact that, the perception of being an older male. But
Right.
at the same time, I can usually play that movie forward. And what that means is that you're a burden and you're a pain in the ass, and people don't appreciate you. They don't really want you around, and they don't see that you add much value, and they don't like the prejudice, and they don't like the fact that an old white guy has to be a part of it. So
And that's interesting because that sounds like what it must feel like to be a diversity hire.
I think so.
When-
I think so. If you're
It's like
if
a
you feel like
reverse
you've been
diversity
hired
hire.
because you're anything other than one,
Other-
an older
other
white
than-
male.
Well, no, if you feel like you've been hired because of anything other than your contribution.
Skill set. Yeah,
Yeah, your skill set.
I'm with you. So
So
anyway, it's a
I
form
think
of-
it's
for
interesting
profiling.
to me because I feel like yes, but I feel like older white men are starting to experience what only a taste of what other races and
no question.
genders have experienced throughout all of history.
No
I'm
question.
reading the autobiography of Malcolm X right now. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can't fathom what it would be like to be. And I'm not. The only thing I'm saying is I recognize it.
Yeah.
And it does change the way I behave, but in no way do I feel like I'm disadvantaged. Really,
Yeah.
it would be like, well, it's like when you were lined up on the playground to be picked for a sport and you were picked number 2 or number 3. So what? Who cares?
Yeah.
And I'm not worried about it. I do see that it's changing, and I do love the fact that there's I do love youth, and I do love diversity. And I recognize that I have to be careful not to profile, but I also recognize profiling. And for me, in that political spectrum, even though nature tells you that when the pendulum starts to swing across, it's not going to stop at the bottom at a nice balanced spot. It's going to swing the other way.
Uh-huh.
I can't help but want it to stop at the bottom so that the people that are going to get hurt on the reverse way don't have to suffer. It would just be nice if and there are some wonderful leaders that witness that, but still,
Like
for
who?
what it's worth, I don't know. Think about Martin Luther King Jr. or Gandhi or
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela. The ones that were like, we want to get on with life. We don't want to waste our future on revenge. We want to move on.